Hello, and thank you for joining us on Journey to 600. Our first topic is going to be on non-systems. So, what exactly is non-systems? Multiple things could fall under this umbrella term of non-systems, such as devices, equipment, research, and professional responsibility. The first topic I want to touch on today is standard deviation. I personally had never heard of negatively and positively skewed bell curves until I got a practice question on it when I was studying for my boards. So I wanted to include it here in my lesson today because I believe that we should be aware of negatively and positively skewed bell curves so you're not blindsided. And so these are easy questions that you could get correct if asked. So, a negatively skewed bell curve, which is towards the left, is when subjects fall above the average, while positively skewed bell curves, which is towards the right, is when subjects fall below the average. For me, I'm more of a visual individual. So I included a picture that I drew in the top right hand corner to kind of help you figure out the left, the right, because that can sometimes be confusing when you're just reading it. Sometimes you need that visual to help you get that oomph, to help you remember. And I also included the bell curve with the percentages here. I think percentages are easy things to remember if you get asked any questions about adding within the standard deviation. Next, we have statistical outcomes, which is sensitivity and specificity. So, this is the famous spin and snout. So, we all know that snout is ruling out while spin is ruling in. But when it really gets confusing is when they start including all these true and falses and negatives and positives. So, I've kind of laid it out how I remember it best, and everyone learns differently and everyone memorizes differently. But I find it easier to remember the falses. So instead of remembering who goes with where, I remember that if the question is asking for ruling out, I know it's a sensitivity, and then I look for a false negative. And why I look at the falses is because false negative, negative starts with N, snout has N in it. And don't get me wrong, not every question answer is going to have the false negative, but then I just remembered the opposite. So I know it's a false negative if I'm looking for sensitivity, but it's not an answer choice. So I do the opposite. So the opposite of false is true, and the opposite of negative is positive. That's how I remember it. I have a practice question on this towards the end of the video to hopefully hone it in. Next is ADA standards. I've put together a chart with some measurements on it and what items are being measured. Now, this chart is not everything, but I feel like these are some of the big points. The biggest thing to remember is the ramp. 1 inch of rise requires 1 foot of run. Next, I have levels of evidence. I have included the 4 levels of evidence that we most commonly talk about within EBP. So, I would get questions about, so and so is looking at a retrospective study. What level of evidence is this? That is a very watered down question, but I would be like, what the heck is a retrospective study? Like, I don't know which level that is. Well, as you can see from my descriptions here, that is a level 4. But those are words that I don't usually think of when I think of these levels. So I have included here each level with what it's called and describe what it is looking for and how it is used and done. So just picking out keywords, like for example, systematic review, well, it has randomized control trials in it and that it is critically appraised and statistically combined. Some of those keywords and involves an experimental or control group. Well, that's level 2, that's randomized control trials, while level 3 is a prospective study versus level 4, which is a retrospective study. I just think these are quick, easy questions you could get correct. I've also included the pyramid here of the different levels of evidence. Next is reliability. So this includes the test, retest, inter-rater, and intra-rater reliability. So I've given you brief descriptions of each, and I have given you kind of an example of the difference between inter and intra-rater reliability. Next, I have a practice question for you. So please take your time on answering these questions. Pause if you need to, and I will be back shortly. All right, let's get going. If you need more time, please pause. The correct answer is A. So, why is A the correct answer? So, let's look at the question. So, from the ground to the top of the porch is 1 foot tall. How many inches do you need for the run of the ramp? Well, for every inch of rise, we need 1 foot of run. So, 1 foot converted to inches is 12 inches tall. So then you would times it by 12, which is 12 times 12 equals 144. And that is why A is the correct answer. Why B is not the correct answer? Well, if you did not convert your units over to inches, then you would have just done 1 times 12, which is incorrect. And C and D should have automatically been marked off because we were looking for in inches, not feet. So make sure you read the question. You could sometimes pick out words and things that can help you mark out answer choices. All right, on to our next question. Please take your time and answer it, and I'll be back shortly. All right, I'm back. If you need more time, please pause this video and take your time. Okay, like I said, I'm going to expand on spin and snout. Okay, so let's read the question. The results found that it has a sensitivity of 95 and a specificity of 32. Which of the following can be concluded from these results? So let's look at A. So to rule in false negative of 95%, well, if we look at what was given, snout, aka sensitivity, is 95%. And spin, specificity, is 32%. While ruling in is spin, which does not go with 95%. So that's incorrect. And then B, rolling in with 32%. Okay, well, those two go together. And then, like I said, I remember the false positives because P from the positive goes with spin. That's just how I remember it. Another correct answer could be rolling in a true negative. So that's your correct answer. That's my way of remembering it. I have, after I figured out this little way to help me keep it straight, I didn't miss any more practice questions. But I'm not saying my way is the end all be all, but that's just a way that I feel like helped. Or maybe I was lucky, but I thought I would share it here. C, ruling out false negative of 32%. Well, ruling out is sensitivity, which goes with 95%, which is incorrect. And then ruling out false positive of 95%. Well, ruling out goes with the 95%, but it would not be a false positive. It would be a false negative. So that is why D is incorrect. All right, question number 3. Take your time. Please answer this question. Alright, I'm back. Please pause this video if you need more time, but we will be moving on here. Alright, the correct answer is D. I was super excited to include a standard deviation question because this is the first thing we talked about. I wanted to see if you would remember. But okay, let's look at the question. So, while reading a research article, the researchers concluded that the standard deviation was skewed towards the right. What does this mean for the bell curve? Well, if you remember my little visual in the top right hand corner, you could refer back to the beginning of the video if you need a visual to screenshot or anything. But towards the right means they're falling below the bell curve. So, you might get confused and you're looking at the bell curve and you're like, yeah, towards the right, that's above the bell curve. They're in the top. But that is not correct. You have to be the bell curve. You are the bell curve. So your right is going to be, if you're the bell curve, your right is going to be in the bottom half. You're going to be more towards that axis. Thank you so much for joining us on Journey to 600. Please like and subscribe and turn on your notifications so you can join us for our next video.